I'm talking specifically about gays here. I'm not saying gay is right or wrong. That's not my job. That's God's job, okay? If God doesn't like gay people and it's wrong and it's sinful, groovy, okay? That's between those people and God. That's not my business. So many people are so worried about what everybody else is doing with their woohoo and their tutu, with their hee-haw and their moo-ma, or whatever, their giblets and their giblets, okay? What? I don't care what you're doing in your bedroom. I don't care. It's none of my business. Because the only reason I would care what anybody's doing in their business, what anybody's pronouns are, what any of this and that, the only reason that I would care about all of this kind of stuff is because I want to condemn you. I want to condemn you. I want to be God. I want to say, God says, so I'm going to parrot what God says in the Bible, and I'm going to condemn you too. That's not our job. God literally said, no, your job is to love them. Love them. Okay, that's between God and when they get up there, good. Let them hash that out. That's not our business. In fact, it's the fall of man to know good and evil, to think we know what's good and evil. We don't know their hearts. We don't know their story. We don't know their lives. Doesn't matter. It's not our business. It's all just the same form of temptation to divide, to separate and divide, to separate and divide God's oneness, to separate and divide us from our happiness, to separate and divide us from our brothers and sisters, to separate and divide us from the peace of God, the will of God. Separate and divide, separate and conquer, divide and conquer. It's all the same game by the enemy. And then what it says is, you're not good enough. They're not good enough. They're not getting in God's kingdom. Don't talk to them. Don't do that. You better set them straight. Really? Really? You got that much power? That's my whole point. The peace that God has for us is his yoke, his peace, his long suffering, his love, his acceptance, all of the virtues that if you look up the Bible quotes about what love is. It's patient, it's kind, it's loving. It's not riding somebody's ass like Zorro saying, get it together, man. And the reason we do that to other people is because that's who the yoke we've chosen. We haven't chosen God's easy yoke, because God's easy yoke's easy. We don't even have to think about all that stuff. We don't have to worry about it, think about it, give it energy, give it attention. Not our business, not our problem. All I'm trying to do is point us to him, and to point us to more loving ways, and to, in the ways that we are not loving, to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Check ourselves before we wreck our relationships with our children and with our parents. Check ourselves before we wreck ourselves with our relationships with our political friends who have different opinions. Check ourselves before we wreck ourselves and understand what love is, and it is not the yoke and the spirit of condemnation.